Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Oh,
Uh,
it's a Saturday. The day before we give our praise to the Lord, or at least the Christian folk do.
yeah.
Not to immediately bring in religion.
You did it.
I did
You
it.
always immediately bring in religion.
It's all around us. There's the religion of food, the religion of your credit card.
All right, start the clock, Zach.
Starting the clock. It is 11:17. We are gonna go for exactly. Should not have shown my phone. We are going for exactly 30
Wait,
minutes.
what was sorry, I'm pushing buttons. What was on your phone?
Oh,
Can you bring
nothing.
that
It's
up
just
again?
there was a person on my phone. I don't know if she would like to be seen. I really do. I work in the film industry and the medical film industry, and it's all about asking people if they want to be on camera. You and I both want to be on camera.
We are on camera currently.
Yeah.
We're live, baby. This is Two Thumbs Undecided. You guys,
You're lucky.
You're lucky.
You're lucky you get to look at this.
Yeah. Look at this guy.
Ah!
But
we're not here just to scream and have you look at us. We're here for a purpose because we're on the clock. We are going to be telling you about one of our favorite and influential cinematographers of not a generation, but just all of the years of film has been around. A man who likes to be called, because it's his name,
well,
Vilmos.
before we get into that, I want to say one thing about film news.
Oh yes,
I think this is fascinating. I heard from sources that Chick-fil-A is starting their own streaming service.
I did. Okay, that is good news. Well, is it good
news?
Is
it good news?
Well, okay, so Chick-fil-A is I like Chick-fil-A. I like Chick-fil-A's food. I don't agree with their politics. But it makes you wonder if they're opening up their own video stuff, their own channel. What is it going to be about? Is it going to be more religious, or is it just going to be a platform of food-based channels?
I think it is going to be religious.
It's probably going to have one or two.
Well, it's family. They're looking for family-oriented content.
Are you saying would you sell yourself? Would you want to be part of the Chick-fil-A channel? Two Thumbs Undecided Chick-fil-A family? Or would you be afraid people would think you're homophobic?
Okay, here's my statement. If Chick-fil-A wants to stream Two Thumbs Undecided, which would you say we're family friendly? I don't think we're family friendly.
No, I think we get pretty I think we actually take a lot of I started off just talking about religion, and then I'll probably talk about balls, and we're all over the place. We don't have a format. We have no structure except for A, B, and then a C ending. So part of me is if Chick-fil-A would give us, I'm not in it for the money, but money doesn't help. It does help. So would I sell myself out to Chick-fil-A? Not sell out myself, but I will be we will give you content and you pay us.
Mm-hmm.
But I will not be censored.
Yeah. My whole thoughts on the whole thing is I was on my phone to look up a tidbit about something that's happening later in the show. My whole thing is it's interesting to me now how in the past these big random cell phone companies and stuff bought production companies.
Yeah.
And it used to be the production companies was where the money was. But now, ever since the Supreme Court overturned the law that, because way in the past, in the mid 40s, there was a law that was passed that production companies cannot have complete a monopoly of the vertical consolidation of owning the production, distribution, and exhibition. They weren't allowed to own all three, so they only did the distribution and production. But
Ah,
now, recently, they just did away with that law, where they can own they can do everything again. So the studio system is basically coming back.
oh, okay. Which,
And so, but now all of these big companies, which used to invest in production, that used to invest in like, or would buy these production companies, like Turner bought UA, for example, something we'll talk about later. Um, Now they're creating their own exhibition, distributing channel. It's just like more money is put into how to actually show things than how to actually make things, is what I'm
yeah,
getting at,
it's
which
funny.
is sad for the community
It
of
really is.
filmmakers.
It always feels like I'm 10 feet ahead sad than I am 10 feet ahead happy. Like every time I'm happy, one step
What?
happy. Sorry, let me do this metaphor better. Every time I feel like I'm 1 foot ahead happier, then I'm given news like this. They send me back like 10 feet sadder.
Yeah.
Like an independent person makes a really great indie movie, and it's like, yay. And then I realize Chick-fil-A just bought Disney, and it's like, uh-oh. It's
Yeah.
like one little good news is
Well,
I'll
that would be
shine by.
crazy if Chick-fil-A bought Disney.
I mean,
Uh,
I don't look at how rich people are, but it's always fascinating when you realize the richest people in the world. I mean, there's the famous ones, but then there are other people who are like, toilet paper companies. It's like, oh, of course they're rich.
Also, I also just found out my friend's cat just died.
Oh, okay. Uh, Roman,
Ronan.
Ronan.
Um, so that
Do
was
we have
partially
any?
the reason why we're. Do we have any updates? Still
No,
dead.
no. Do we have any photos of what
Uh,
of Ronan?
yeah.
Oh, you're just gonna
Um,
show it on your phone, even though we
I
have
mean,
this TV right here.
I,
I don't know where.
yeah, it's right there. You got it. It's gonna require a lot of.
Okay, well, everybody, you know what a cat
This
looks
is the
like.
cat.
Oh, you really are just showing it on your phone.
That's the cat.
Oh, the cat like TV or screens.
Anyways, I don't know if.
That cat was watching Law and Order SVU with Elliot.
Yeah, it's really sad.
It is, yes. Shout out to Ronan and your friend.
Olivia Michael Marion, friend of the show.
Oh, okay. Yep. Friend of the show.
Um,
We'll show her photo right here. Just kidding.
Off to the edge. Let's get on to the topic now.
Yeah. All right. Let's have a little tear for Ronan. And we are talking about a cinematographer. And his name that I was teasing before is Vilmos Zsigmond. He's Hungarian.
Yeah.
From Zsérged, Hungary, actually. And you may go, huh, what? Why does that sound familiar? Or like if it's spelled out, why does that sound familiar? It's probably because you have a good movie taste. Or maybe bad movie taste because his
Hey,
later movies were not
excuse me, I don't see any Curry Brand
considered
cat
to be the
food.
best.
So what?
But he
Curry
did
Brand
movies
cat food.
like Macabre and Mrs. Miller, Deliverance, The Long Goodbye, Sugarland Express, Steven Spielberg's first theatrical movie. Here we go. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, The Deer Hunter, Heaven's Gate, Blowout, and then
Going too quick.
oh, well, we can talk about them individually because
All right, this is him.
whoa.
So yeah, you've seen his stuff. You've seen Vilmos's stuff.
At least one of the
Um,
stuff. I mean, like some of the movies we mentioned, maybe you would watch if you're like a filmy. But uh, Close Encounters of the Third Kind is probably the one that you probably have seen. If you're not a, if tell you the truth, the people who are watching this right now are probably like pretty film people. So we
mhm.
expect that you have at least seen two of those,
I actually don't think most of the people watching this are film people.
if any.
I think most of the people watching this are
Confused?
family friends
Yes.
or
Which
friends.
Yes, which friends or family who taught us how to watch films, and friends that we have chosen because we respect their film
Yeah.
attitude. So, why are we talking about him? I mean, we just listed off a bunch of film stuff. I mean, he has such a expansive filmography. Um, Now, would you say there's a certain type to his cinematography, Sam?
Yeah, actually I'm glad you asked because we should get into this. He is very famous for kind of inventing this process called flashing or pre-fogging, which he kind of co-created with Robert Altman, who he credits with like kind of breaking him into the film world. Um, and I mean, he was once he started like what's it called? Macabre Ms. What was that one movie?
Macabre and Mrs. Miller.
Yeah. So once here, do you have a photo for that?
I do.
Let me try to find
Well, I'll just
it.
talk over while Sam's trying to find that. So I believe that's the famous story where they dragged the film against the ground to give it kind of this dirty
Nope,
look. No,
that's not it.
that's another.
So
What movie is that
uh,
from?
I don't know.
Okay.
But what pre-fogging is they expose the film very briefly to a very controlled amount of light before like to the negative before they start even shooting it. So they start shooting on a film that has already been exposed to some amounts of light, meaning it mutes the colors and kind of gives it this dreamy look, but there's less contrast. And I'm pretty sure they did it on his film Long Goodbye first.
Well, no, Long
And
Goodbye was later. Oh, you're
I
talking
know, but
about
I
the
think
sequel.
that's when they started doing this.
According to my
Um,
notes, he pre-flashed the camera filter to alter the contrast ratio, achieving what would become a widely implemented period look. So it
yeah.
was first done on Macabre and Mrs. Miller,
Okay.
which is uh, a Warren Buffett, no, Warren Beatty, a Warren Beatty film, which people
No,
get.
it's Robert Altman.
No, it's Robert Altman with Warren Beatty as
Oh, but Warren
Macabre.
Beatty's also a director sometimes, so
Yeah,
I
he's a
didn't want to
direct.
confuse.
That's like me going like and starring Clint Eastwood. And he's like the director.
No, but you
Um,
didn't say starring. You said a Warren Beatty film.
okay. Well, we all know it's Robert Altman. Why would
Okay.
it's a Robert
I just want to.
Altman flick? Robert Altman, famous for The Player, Nashville, Long Goodbye, and a tour, if you will.
Yeah. It does seem like Vilmos
Do you have a
loved
book about him?
Robert Altman, working with Robert Altman the
No, I
most.
don't.
Um,
Yeah, actually, I categorized that. I'm gonna have to look at the pronunciation. Zygmunt, Vilmos Zsigmond, worked with two directors the most. He worked with Robert Altman and Brian De Palma. I think Brian De Palma he actually did more of.
oh, really?
Yeah, he
Interesting.
did. Well, let's. He did Obsession, starring Cliff Robertson, aka our Uncle Ben from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. He did Blowouts, Bonfire of the Vanities, and He did this thing I think called the Black Delilah.
Mm.
Man, my computer is
Yeah.
so hot.
So going back to your original question about what his look is, it's kind of, I'd say it's actually pretty similar to how I look right now, where I look kind of overexposed, a little flattened.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Same here. If you're wondering why do these guys look like the quality is like kind of rugged, it's because we're doing a Vilmos Zsigmond
yeah,
thing.
I was seeing an interview where he was talking about like movies now are like so contrasted, and um, he purposely made his movies like all the blacks are very uh light, and you had to, because he's doing it this specific way where he's overexposing, or he is flashing this film. You have to overexpose the film, meaning he has to let in the light. He has to expose the film for a longer period of time, which makes the blacks look not like crunchy black, and it takes away contrast. So that's really his style. And I think if you watch a lot of 70s movies, you'll start to notice this look, where it's fairly desaturated, flat, and and not as contrasted. Some of that also has to do with the type of film that's used. Like I forget what the number is. It's like 5, 7 something. But the type of film that was used at the time, like really mutes greens, but really makes like reds and yellows pop.
Oh, well,
Um,
he definitely achieved that in a lot of the films. I mean, it's funny, a lot of his 1970s and 1980s films
mhm,
were pretty colorful. Like, I think that's where a lot of people have complaints about today's kind of film, where it doesn't seem like everything seems gray. I don't
mhm,
know why, but they were using all the colors, except even well, like when it came to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that was vibrant to the nth degree with the spaceship flying
yeah.
around.
So let's get into. So you watched the Macabre movie.
I did,
What is it called
and
again?
it's called Macabre and Mrs. Miller. It's
Yeah.
considered to be from most an anti-western, which I would say it is. It's kind of it's paced out where it almost seems like a day in the life of somebody in the West, where there's not really there's a story. There's this macabre fellow who's kind of a con artist esque type guy who,
Hmm.
after befriending this Mrs. Miller, they open up, I believe, if I remember correctly, a brothel. But things go south pretty quickly, and it ends in a very 1970s sort of way where the you think the good guy, he's not really a good guy, he's just kind of this anti, he's not even an anti-hero, he's just kind of a dick uh who deals with the wrong
Which
people.
which
This is
photo is that you sent?
it's the guy in the big fur coat. It's kind of,
Okay.
I would say that's probably the most famous of the photos, or of the images for Macabre and Mrs. Miller. Really good movie. Though after watching all these films, I think if I had to pick my favorite Vilmos movie, it would be Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I
Hmm.
rewatched that recently, and it really is a powerful film. And it's funny,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to see how much you can put into a 2 hour movie, because for some reason I thought, so the movie, if you haven't, we'll just summarize. It's about a guy who like aliens are coming to Earth, and people are all over the world are getting transmitted images into their brains to come to this location where I guess they're going to uh, abduct with consent, is what I would call it, people.
Hmm.
And and the
Tucked with consent.
well, like, I'm wondering, like, why do they? You always wonder why are they doing this to these humans because they've done it before, the aliens. But what is the purpose? Do they go like, oh, this is like, do they put them in a zoo? Like, we never really get a deep briefing of what happens on the spaceship. And the scariest part about this film that is kind of played off comedically because it's Steven Spielberg and his pre Schindler's List days is that this poor father is just harassed with these images of this canyon, this or this uh, what would you call it, a topography, and he loses his family because of it, and just abandons his family too with glee, or towards the end with glee.
Yeah.
And it was upon this viewing where I really noticed that this is either an apology or like an acceptance of his Steven Spielberg's father's, like, kind of a bit like leaving the family. His father, Steven Spielberg's father, divorced his mom early in his teens,
Yeah.
and it's shown throughout. And I never noticed this until it was pointed out. It's shown throughout almost all of Steven Spielberg's early
Hey,
films of like fathers, bad fathers. I mean,
Yeah.
You got Hook. Close Encounters, I think, is the worst one where the dad.
Well, worst one as in
The
the worst dad.
worst example. Well, and it's funny too because he is a good dad. It's just these stupid aliens ruin his mind. Like, he's
Yeah.
not a bad dad. He even there's moments too where he's just
What's-
like, I don't know what's happening to me. And it's
I
like,
will say, going back to Vilmos, it is kind of unique in his filmography because all of his movies, he called it poetic realism, where he's almost trying to make it ultra real. Like, even his first movie, or his first movie with Spielberg, Sugarland Express. Here, let me find the image.
he did a
for
lot
that.
of handheld stuff.
Yeah, so like this movie, this is Sugarland Express. It is probably one of Spielberg's like most realistic movies. And it was his first like actual movie
Before,
through Hollywood system.
after Duel.
Well, Duel was a TV movie.
That was a TV movie.
But his next movie he did with Spielberg, he wanted to do Jaws with Spielberg. Or Spielberg wanted him for Jaws. But Vilmos had another project that he was working on at the time. So he couldn't do it.
With Brian
But
De
then
Palma.
oh, is that what he was doing?
Yeah, which was my
Okay.
favorite new discovery of.
Did you watch that?
I did.
Okay.
It's an interesting send up to Vertigo.
What does that have to do? How does that compare in Vilmos' filmography?
I would put that in his not realism, but his Technicolor, because everything is so shiny. Like, things are like he's in a church and things are all like glistening because it's all about this man who loses his wife and child, and then he finds a woman in Italy who looks exactly like her, and he falls in love, like obsessed. He's obsessed. But you find out later. Can I spoil it? This is kind of messed up.
Don't spoil it.
Okay. It has a twist that I'm like, oh no, there's a movie that I would compare it to, but it would ruin it. But it's
Ruin
really
movies?
good. It would ruin movies. No,
It would just ruin movies if
it
you
would
compared
ruin
the
movies
two.
yeah, but I would really recommend it. I would. It's on
Okay.
Criterion Channel. It's got a young John Lithgow who
Beautiful.
still looks old.
He also wanted. So apparently, one of the other movies he did with Brian De Palma, Bonfire of the Vanities, which I saw last night, which we have to get to.
Yes, we have 7 more minutes, by the way. So
what?
Yeah.
All right, it's just gonna go over. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Bonfire of the Vanities. He wanted Jonathan Lithgow to play the role that Tom Hanks played. who I I hate to skip around, but I really want to talk about Bonfire of the Vanities.
Well,
Just because, go
I'm
ahead.
okay. Well, it's funny. We need to talk about like Deer Hunter and
Yes, the thing is, the guy has done so much. Even this morning, I was like, I was doing more research on him, and I was like, I have just scraped the surface because it's one thing talking about directors where you can kind of talk about directors and like, you talk about Close Encounters and Spielberg. You can kind of talk about them more personally. Like their movies are more of about them, or it's like they have like a style or something. With Vilmos, he like invented looks, which is
yes,
something I think about a lot because uh oh boy, I'm just getting information about this cat situation.
yes. This is the
Um
cat episode as well.
um because I was also supposed to come out with her this weekend to her home, but now that's canceled. Um
Oh
which is obviously fine. I feel horrible.
no,
Um but
but yes, he invented stuff. And like for
he
example,
invented stuff, and what I'm saying is like because I'm a colorist, as a colorist who is kind of in the present age, I create looks. I am much more captivated with Vilmos in because in the 70s there wasn't colorists. It all was in camera. And him thinking ahead and thinking about like doing something to the film before and after uh is just like revolution like it's crazy to me how like thoughtful he was about the look.
right.
um
A movie that I'm sad that I didn't get around to seeing, which I feel like will just all about colors, was The Rose. This is backwards, but it's on Criterion Collection, and it's a Bette Midler. Basically, it's like a concert. It's a fake character, but it is like showing Bette Midler being a star. Um, so it's like beautiful, coloresque 1970s uh, concerts. And I just want to quote Vilmos said that it was basically a light show. We wanted to recreate an era of rock and roll concerts. The picture looked like documentaries of Janis Joplin concerts. We wanted the audience to see everything. Nothing was hidden.
and I
So,
think one of the things that we didn't even really touch on is like how he actually began.
yes.
um and this has a lot to do with his style and also like the styles of the 70s in general,
Yeah,
because
we
in the 60s it was much more of like these studio films where everything was on a soundstage, everything was very vibrant. And what kind of switched in the 70s and why Vilmos became such a big in hot demand is he comes from a documentary background.
right. And
He fit Go ahead.
yeah, he comes from kind of a uh impoverished it seems like a really like a tough situation. He grew up in Nazi occupied Hungary, or like you
It was communist Hungary.
it was 1930s. So he grew up in
Yeah.
a
So
very
yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
even get like a camera because where was it? The under the Soviet imposed government of Hungary's People's Republic, he was not allowed to study photography because his family was considered the bourgeoisie.
Mhm.
So he somehow figured out how to. He became a working man, working in a camera, and through that bought a camera.
Well, yeah, he bought a camera and then he went to
Chronicles.
school. He went to school at the Academy of Drama and Film and got an MA there. He also met uh
L-
another famous
Laz.
DP, Laszlo Kovacs. Um and mom just texted that they're listening to our live show.
Oh,
Thanks,
good.
mom. Um and so this Laszlo and Vilmos, they both filmed and documented the Hungarian Revolution that happened in 56. Yeah, in
Yes.
56. and they snuck out of and they were able to do it by hiding the camera in like a bag, and that's how they filmed this stuff. Because the during the revolution, the um the Soviets would kill anyone filming the. I mean, it was an all out war between the Hungarians and the Soviets. So they were risking their lives to get this footage. And then they left, they escaped, moved to Austria, and then they moved to the America and sold the footage, and it was like shown and was narrated by like Walter Cronkite in like the 60s, I think, like early 60s at some time.
And
Or
then
maybe late 50s.
and then Vilmos started doing movies more so on the horror end, kind of those Roger Corman. I don't know if these are Roger Corman, but his first U.S. cinematic film he did was called The Satanist, 1963. So he was 33 years old when he did his first U.S. movie. So there's a, you know, don't give up yet. His first real cinematic film I saw, it's called, excuse my pronunciation, but Hungarn in Flemmen, 1957. So, and then, but the movie that actually, in my opinion, really, I think, catapulted him through the help of Laszlo, his friend, who did the DP on Easy Rider. He
Another
recommended,
big, I mean, kind of changed movies and also was extremely documentary
yes,
inspired.
indie. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those movies that holds up, but it definitely like changed. It changed things. I mean, there's
I'd
that.
say it I think it holds up
I
in
like
that
it,
you're
but
watching it. I think when you're watching it, it does kind of feel like a movie that uh, seems old, but it doesn't seem like it's from the 60s. It feels like it's from the 70s. It feels like an early version of something that was later perfected, but it
yes.
was kind of like the first of its kind.
Well, it's one of those things. I think people maybe would be more impressed with it, like people who are our age when they're a bit younger. If that made any sense,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I watched it and it was like, whoa, this is crazy. You can do this. Now that I'm a bit older, I'm just like, yeah. I mean, you could do that with your phone. All you got to do is be on drugs and have a dream.
Yeah, I think it is more of just like
Because that is
I
what it is. They like Dennis Hopper really was kind of like on drugs, and I think they even
I also
spiked Peter Fonda's drink at one point.
I just don't think there's as much of a relate like the fact that they had long hair and were bikers just doesn't really it
Oh,
doesn't
those Southerners
make
really hated that they had
it's
long
not like
hair.
an it's more if it was like they were black and they were being like that would be I think it would hold up more to the point that they were trying to go for of like we're different, we're America, but they don't want us. Now it's kind of like we know the boomers
Well, now
like
you're
kind of took over.
you know what? Now you're talking Putin Snope. Remember that movie, the Robert Downey Jr. Senior movie, where
No.
like a janitor, like a
Oh,
African
Putney
American
Snope.
Putney Snope, where like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
black
yeah.
janitor takes over the company and like
I don't know
radicalizes
if
it.
that's comparable, but
Well, that's the first thing I remember. Really great
yeah.
movie. Highly suggest to everybody. But no, what you're
But
talking
let's
about
get
would have
back
been
on
way
to
more
track with
revolutionary.
Vilmos. Um,
Yes. Okay. So his friend Laszlo uh, uh, recommends to Peter Fonda uh, Vilmos for his next Western or his next movie, which is a Western called The Hired Hand, which is a 1971 Western film. And he does it. And it's through that movie, The Hired Hand, that catches the eye of Robert Altman, who thinks, wow, this guy knows how to capture the
I'm gonna
West.
get a cup of coffee real quick.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Robert Altman sees The Hired Hand and says, wow, I could um, use this guy for my movie called McCabe and Mrs. Miller. And then off to the races we go. Now, one of the things that I have we've talked about McCabe and Mrs. Miller a lot. This is why I need Sam. He's the one showing the photos.
Yeah,
But
I'm coming.
Another movie that is well known but is quite disturbing is his movie Deliverance, directed by John
Oh,
Borman.
God. There it is.
Directed by John Borman, which shout out to our mom. Sorry, because she loves the movie Excalibur, which was directed by John Borman. But Vilmos did not do Excalibur. But John Borman did do Deliverance, and this is what I found. The little quote about Deliverance is John Borman and Vilmos decided that a camera on a tripod with a long lens made the tension more tactile. Zsigmond put a fluid head on the tripod and covered the camera with a plastic bag. So he was, it looks like, actually in the canoe with the guys with some of the shots.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't say the camera movement was raw. Like, it was really like, wow, they're really there. But it was a intense film, except for one part where it's a matte paint, it's a matte paint. It like where John Voight is climbing a hill, and it's obvious he's not climbing the hill, and it really takes you out. But you have to get 72. So what do they know?
I think we should probably more generally the 70s.
70s is definitely, because I'm looking at it, even his 80s stuff is not as noticeable, and it really is kind of more of his downhill.
But like it's fascinating, like his position in time. The Hungarian, these two, Laszlo and Vilmos, kind of created a look and a spirit of what we think of as 70s filmmaker. These Hungarian DPs. That this is what I think our show, is what makes it different from a lot of shows. Is we find Vilmos is not little, but like the people behind the scenes who have such a major impact on cinema that are not really talked about. Most film podcasts talk about, directors and actors and writers, but very rarely do people talk about the DPs.
Yeah, let's toot that horn.
So,
by the way, I just want to I just want to say Laszlo, his friend, the movies he did, though, are not like to the tier, like as wide. Actually, the more I'm looking at it, maybe we should do another one on this Laszlo one, because this is his thing. Easy Rider, 5 Easy Pieces, What's Up, Duck, Paper Moon, which is great. Yeah. And now here's where he starts to get some money. New York, New York. That's not the money maker, but here we go. He did Ghostbusters. He did Mask with Eric Schultz.
Yeah.
And then Say Anything. So he set up the shot.
Wow.
Where he's like the boombox. It may have looked worse. And then
he had a much better 80s than Vilmos.
Yes, he switched it off. He's like, I will do the 80s.
Yeah,
you do the 70s.
They moved to America. I was like I got the 70s.
I call 70s. I call 80s. And then
the 90s.
Nobody, because this is his 90s. He did The Next Karate Kid, which I really want to see. It's and then Jack Frost, the non-scary one. That's
wow. He's gotten around, this Laszlo guy.
I know. And then I guess Miss Congeniality, which is some people's probably favorite movie of all time. And it looks either he quit or died. He died in 2007. He said,
Jesus,
I do not want to live to see Sam and Zach get into high school. I won't. Yeah. But he was 74.
Yeah.
Now
that's still pretty young.
Yes, that is. Now, I will say, this is a spoiler, but Vilmos is dead. He died.
Yeah, spoiler, he died in 2016.
Yes.
And I would also say, if you are interested in Vilmos, you should watch the No Reservation episode with Anthony Bourdain, where he goes to Hungary. And this is what I got, why I wanted to do an episode on Vilmos, is a lot of his episode is talking to Vilmos.
Interesting.
And they do a big dedication to him and his career. And Vilmos apparently loves the Hungarian baths. And they did some of their shooting in the bath house.
Now,
but let's now go to the 80s and the beginning of the end of his career. So the 70s, Vilmos's, and then what?
And then we'll do a quick 90s because
yes,
I'm getting a little hungry.
Yeah. So it's basically just 2 movies that I want to talk about.
Yes. Okay.
So one of them is a movie that maybe we should do a whole episode on, called Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, and I want to find the director's cut, which is 3 hours and 30 minutes long.
Yeah. Well, no, the original cut was 5 hours. It was Michael Cimino. Cimino. Cimino.
Oh, Cimino. Michael Cimino.
Yes, Michael Cimino. I had the pronunciation and everything, and I still took a second. Michael Cimino. Do we have that photo?
Of Heaven's Gate? Yes, it's like a Pioneers.
There it is.
Yeah.
So Heaven's Gate famously basically bankrupted UA, United Artists, which was started by Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, and Fairbanks, Douglas Fairbanks, as it was like an artist-focused production company. And this was they made Deer Hunter, which Vilmos also did. Michael Cimino did Deer Hunter, and then they gave him so much money to make this movie,
which is a Western.
And it's a Western. What I find interesting is at the time in 1980, it was heralded as the worst movie ever made. I watched it. It is better than a lot of other movies that have won Oscars. Like, it's not a bad movie. I think it's better than, dare I say it, Mom's going to hate me for this, but I think it's better than Chariots of Fire.
But you don't like Chariots of Fire, so
I think it's not a great movie, and the ending kind of falls apart. But I would say there's one scene in it, and I want to play this video because we have this video.
Oh, we do.
Excuse me, I don't see any curry brand cat food.
Some what?
Curry brand cat food. It happens to be the only kind of food.
I have not seen.
Curry brand.
I want to, but I really do want to watch it.
We're all of that.
Curry
Why
brand.
don't you get this?
But you can't
excuse me, I don't see any curry brand cat food.
You have to get it from
curry brand cat food. It happens to be the only kind of food.
The only way to watch it.
Yeah, curry brand. C-O.
We do a whole video on that.
We're all of that.
Curry
Why
brand.
don't you get this, mister? All this shit is the same anyway.
Oh yeah, you don't happen to have a cat by any chance?
What I need a cat for? I got a girl.
How do I switch?
I think that was
He's got a girl.
Hey.
Oh, here we go.
Hey, excuse me, I don't see any curry brand cat food.
Some what?
Curry brand cat food. It happens to be the only kind of food. Yeah, curry brand. C-O.
I'm still figuring out this.
We're all of that.
Curry
Why
brand.
don't you get this,
Thing.
mister? All this shit is the same anyway.
Oh yeah, you don't happen to have a cat by any chance?
What I need a cat for? I got a girl.
I know.
I have a.
All right, you talk, Zach.
He's got a girl and I got a cat.
People don't see my face.
Now they do. Now they do.
All right, so this is. I'm gonna just read the brochure inside the note. A lone woman gazes out from the stage into a packed concert arena. The camera pans over and a chorus of clarity, directing a change in unison. Rose. They commanded attention. High on the anticipation of life-altering musical performance, but so high is Rose.
Go back where you came from!
It's getting dangerous to be poor in this thing.
Oh, okay.
We have placed 100.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm reading the inside of the movie The Rose. It had a bad sentence where.
All right, here we go.
Okay, good.
So this, well, maybe this dance sequence is not. This is just the 3 reasons of why to like this thing.
I love the 3 reasons. I don't know why Criterion
It's
Channel
pretty
hasn't-
great, but I'm trying to find a specific. So this opening scene, and now it's having some kind of delay. Okay, this opening scene. Now it's fucked. Hi, we need a producer.
Dalton, where are you?
The opening scene, there's a lot of really cool dancing in this movie, and I really liked the shot. Like, it was a beautifully well shot movie, but some people were shitting on it, saying like they couldn't make anything out because it had like the sepia tone to it. I think that movie was a culmination of a lot of people just not liking. We're getting tired of what we now look back on and love about the 70s.
Right. We
And the
we see
80s,
it through
Michael Cimino was given so much money. He also, in his contract, he had it so he would not be held responsible for going over budget, which is a crazy thing to put in a budget. But they believed in him so much that they thought that was something to include. But there was one day, for example, where Michael Cimino was just like staring at the sky, and it was they hadn't shot at all, and he was just waiting for golden hour, but they didn't have lunch. Nobody was like able to like do anything until Michael said, "Let's shoot." There also was a lot of animal abuse in the movie. Like 4 horses died. And there was like an actual cockfight with chickens or roosters fighting. Like, there was a scene. And this movie made Hollywood, like, the Animal Humane Society has to now get involved with movies because of this movie.
So get this.
This
The budget was $44 million, but the box office was 3.5 million. So
Yeah.
no wonder people hated him.
So this Vilmos was the DP for this. And I would recommend seeing this. It's now, the version I watched was like 2.5 hours. But I don't think, looking at it just by itself, and at the time it caused UA to merge with MGM, and it basically ended the power of directors having full control. Because in the 70s, the directors had full control. Now, once the 80s happened and after Heaven's Gate, and it became such a thing that, like, who's the guy that did Waterworld?
That was Kevin Costner. I don't know. Did
Yeah.
he direct that?
He did, and it became known as Waterworld was similar to Heaven's Gate in that it was like just so much money given to him,
Yeah,
and it
but
became known as
Waterworld
like it became known as Costner Gate because
Yeah.
it could also go. It's funny. There's like 2 gates. There's like Watergate and Heaven's Gate.
That's funny.
Anyways, so that was Vilmos, and that was also kind of the end of Vilmos's like reign of supremacy, was that movie. And then in 1990, 10 years later, he made this movie called Bonfire of the Vanities, which, let me pull up a photo, was so bad. He also, I will say, in the 80s, he did a Brian De Palma movie called Blowout, which is
beautiful. That movie
is incredible.
That movie is like it. If you have never seen it, you should watch that movie. It is. I rewatched it recently, and it is like, it doesn't need to be that beautiful, but it is. It could have been a B movie.
Yeah,
because it's like not a serial killer. It's like a contract killer out to. But
this
it's just so well shot.
From Blowout. That's Blowout. And then
there's another Criterion.
This is
3 reasons. That's really nice.
This is the still from Bonfire of the Vanities that I think says it all. Heaven's Gate, I would recommend. Bonfire of the Vanities, I would not recommend.
But what I would
didn't
recommend
ruin. This
is
didn't. Go ahead, Zach.
which is this book, which is The Devil's Candy. I'm halfway through it, so I haven't finished it, but it's this book is a whole telling about the Bonfire of the Vanities, and it stinks because Brian De Palma really was putting his heart and soul into this. It's just everything was going wrong.
Well, my issue with. Sorry, what else? I interrupted you.
That was it.
Okay. Bonfire of the Vanities did not ruin a studio like Heaven's Gate did. It didn't change the way that films are made, but Bonfire of the Vanities did ruin Brian De Palma's career. And
it put a very big dent. I don't know.
The problem, the thing that I don't respect about it didn't ruin it. He did actually then go on, 10 years later, to do Mission Impossible.
Yeah. But then after that, he was done.
Yeah. So Bonfire of the Vanities was, I'd say it's a racist movie.
Oh, really? Oh, jeez.
I think it's like the actual crux of the message of Bonfire of the Vanities is kind of racist and almost kind of praises the rich. I've like never seen anything like this where it is so just believes in like the core of the message of the movie is to love Tom Hanks, to not love but to appreciate Tom Hanks' character. But Tom Hanks' character is the epitome of like the rich Wall Street person who you're supposed to feel sorry for because he's like, they go through the Bronx and he hits this like black guy who in the movie looks like they're robbing him, and like accidentally runs into one of them in his car. And it turns out that person then is in the hospital, and the whole entire black community and all of like kind of, lower socioeconomic class people are all up in arms and like wants him to burn. And you're supposed to feel sorry for Tom Hanks's character because he was technically innocent, because it wasn't like he didn't know that they had hit the person and he wanted to. And then it also like is horrible towards women. Like all of the women in this movie are the most vapid, simple-minded characters, which is one of the reasons I don't like Brian De Palma as a person, is I think he has a very low opinion of women, how he depicts them in his movies. And it's just, there's not one character in it. Not only is there not one character in it that I like can root for, but it praises someone who I don't like. That I think this person should not be deified. It's such a bad movie.
Yeah.
Like it's boring and it's also like has horrible morals in it.
I told myself, I mean, I didn't watch it for this, but I do want to, once I finish this book, whenever that may be, I do want to watch it because it is a famously bad movie.
Yeah.
Now, it was a 1-2 punch for our good old Vilmos because Bonfire of the Vanities is famously bad, so much so it made a book. But then he did another bad movie called The Two Jakes, which is a sequel to Chinatown. And I only knew about The Two Jakes because I used to have a roommate and friend named Jake, and we all had posters when we all lived together. So Zach, George, Christian, and Jake, and we all had posters with our names, or like plus a like a letter, and then we would put our faces onto the poster. So for me, I was Zach to the future and had my face on, and then George was George of the Jungle. Christian was
go on.
I was just about to get there, and then Jake was. We were like, what movie has Jake in it? And The Two Jakes.
Yeah.
By the way, Christian was a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
But anyways, so I didn't know about the Two Jakes, and it did not do good either because it's a sequel to a 70s classic.
And
So
so
he
Vilmos
slowly,
kind of go ahead.
yeah, goes down, just starting like making other. I mean, he does movies that do make money, like Sliver, Maverick.
He
These are
did
movies
the Mindy Project.
Yes, he did have a stint in TV, so he did HBO's Stalin in 1992, The Misses of Avalon, and then he did 24 episodes of The Mindy Project, which how the heck do you get that and like not get like an Emmy for like does anybody think of those episodes and go, "Whoa, this is what is happening?"
Yeah, I think in conclusion, I think talking about Vilmos, he was such a pivotal person for how we look at and perceive the 70s. And then his career kind of was like holding on to these people. Like, wait, when do you know when Robert Altman died?
I'd say probably the early 2000s.
Because I feel like after the I feel like after the 70s, he kind of went away as well.
2006.
Okay,
Well,
so he did die late. So
what are you talking about? Robert Altman.
I was thinking for a second, like, did Robert Altman die in the 80s? But
No.
never mind.
Well, he did some good stuff later on.
Like what?
Well, he did Shortcuts, The Player in the 90s, and then he did have
The
a
Player.
stint. And then I haven't seen it in a while, but Gosford Park, 2001.
So the end of his career in like the 80s and 90s was him kind of being held on by Brian De Palma, by like kind of these people, but he just was not for big Hollywood studio stuff, where his friend Laszlo was. And I think he's just much more of a run and gun kind of DP that just couldn't really translate into the 80s. But he'll still go down as like, the American Cinematography Associated said he's like one of the top 10 most important DPs of all time.
As he should.
And
I do want to mention, yes, Vilmos did do a Kevin Smith movie called Jersey Girl.
Wait, did he do a Kevin Smith? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I have a photo if you wanted to show it. I have not seen it because we have.
Wait, is this it with the people sitting on a chair?
Yeah, it's the one with Ben Affleck. It's Ben Affleck and I want to say Liz Tyler. Tyler. I don't know what it's about. Apparently, it's not a good movie, but it's a Smith. Get your Smith out.
Well, I think that's kind of good for now.
Hey, well, if we do 3 more minutes, we'll go to an hour.
All right, 3 more minutes. This is did we do a Roger Deakins episode, or is this the first DP episode we've done?
This may be the first DP. We've been doing this for so many years. We probably have done. No, I think this is our first DP. Holy crap! Well, let's do Roger. No, I don't think we've done a Roger Deakins.
I feel like we might have, but
I don't think we have, because I feel like I would have remembered talking about Skyfall and.
Well, anyways, I'm glad that Vilmos is the first one that we've done DP, or as the British call DOP. They always say, it's funny, the people in the UK say DOP.
Well, they love the letter O.
I met a
Oi.
All right, on that.
Wait, we got yeah. Well, you know what? We'll give you your 2 minutes back. That's what my boss always says. Or when we end early, it's like a gift. Like, it's not that we don't have anything more to say. It's just like, I'll give you your.
You talking right now is going to take the 2 minutes. You've now wasted the 2 minutes. Oh my God.